Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to some EML. Sorry for those of you who are waiting just a little bit longer. We've had a last-minute complication with trying to get the hosts all sorted out and ready for today. But it's all sorted, all the drivers in the lobby. We will be loading into the qualifying shortly. Me and Alex were just having a lovely sing-a-song about how much we like this circuit and how it raises a couple different challenges. Obviously, you've got the altitude, the sort of different setups we're able to work with because it's such high altitude as well. But I feel like one thing is written in the stars here today. Tony Richet's not going to get 3 in a row, and it kind of makes me just a little bit sad.
Yep, he's not racing today, unfortunately. But hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well on this Sunday evening. It's currently just gone 7 o'clock here in the UK. And oh my goodness me.
Let's not worry about that just yet, because we've got the lineup on your screen at the minute.
Yeah,
And
we'll have a look at that first while I have a look at this.
boy, we've got again another very talented grid. We've got the likes of Defi coming back, Garcia, Tom Roberts, especially looking at the like of Daniel Gottschalk for TF10. I'm expecting big things from him as well. But then, of course, we've got the likes of Zach Miles also sneaking in there, Sergi Cuseda as well. There's so many different sort of, teams here which can raise up a little bit of a challenge. But I do just want to quickly point out, for those of you who are very observant, might have joined us for the last couple of races here at the EML, you will notice that there's a newcomer, and that being ART. Artemis have decided to hop into this season. Now GL have pulled out. So they've got a little bit more work to do to try and catch up. But standings, once again, still looking as open as ever. A 23-point gap between NLR and TF10 for the lead of this championship. But you look further back, very little disrupts basically everyone from P3 down to maybe even P6, with Shazoo just about scraping into that fight, in my opinion. Customs GT, ABS, CPI, and of course G League as well, all looking to try and get themselves an extra handful of points here today. Alex, what on earth are you researching, mate?
What am I researching?
Yeah, you said you saw something and you wanted to do a bit of research on it.
Well, I wanted to say that I'm just looking at the Mexican Grand Prix track at the moment, and it's rather rainy here in qualifying.
You know, me and Alex composed a song recently. By recently, I mean in the last 10 minutes while we were waiting to go live.
Yeah.
And it's about Mexico City. And this racetrack in particular. I feel like our singing may have caused some angels to cry. Not out of joy, but out of pain. Because it certainly looks like someone's been crying on this circuit. But hopefully for WR, it won't be their first driver out on track, being Guti Ballant here in the Ferrari. Going out on a set of intermediate tyres. In comparison to the likes of the ABS Jan there in P5, who's gone out on a set of wet tyres.
Well, it's one of those things, Josh, that we obviously know about Formula One. We know Formula One's hatred for the full wet tyre. They don't like using them because they're a horrible tyre, really, in hindsight, to warm up. But these Formula One drivers and these drivers we have today prefer using the intermediate tyres, even if the track isn't ready for them, because eventually they will be, because the full wet tyres just overheat so much. I think it is full rain here right now in Mexico City, but we've got about 15 minutes left on the clock, and I would suspect that the rain will die down at least in the next couple of laps.
We can only hope, because realistically, the last part we want to be out at this moment in time is for it to be absolutely chucking it down with rain, it not being fun, it not being great, and the drivers having even more of a technical problem going through that stadium section as well. Not to mention this final corner as well, which can be an absolute ball like to take in the dry. Just look at Valtteri Bottas, for example. We know how much of a talented driver he is. Really struggled to make it through in the dry, going flat out. So, Guti seems to have handled it a little bit better, and he's going to get potentially a little bit of a tow from a Haas car in front of him. But I do believe the Haas kept over to the right-hand side to try and not give any sort of slipstream to Guti. But you see there, just locking up and running it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, well, obviously that is the heavy braking zone. Obviously, it's a very long run down into the first braking zone, and it can be very tricky to slow the car down in the dry, let alone in these very much full wet conditions here. Obviously, Guti driving on the intermediate tyres and just sliding that Ferrari all over the place. But Josh, we kind of expect this from the first lap around a wet track like this. Obviously, I think the full wets are going to be better for at least the first few laps, but I guarantee you that these intermediate tyres will be the tyre to be on come the end of the qualifying session.
Yes, absolutely. So, to me, it raises the question, why do they feel the need to go out and maybe do 1 or 2 laps, because I'm not sure whether you could see on the top right hand side of Guti's wheel there, you can see he's fueled up for 5 laps here. Yes, it is potentially a bit of a technique they can use to try and get more running, get those tyres back up to temperature. But surely at that point it would be more beneficial to go out on a set of wet tyres, clear the water away as quick as you possibly can. Yes, you might help other drivers get themselves better lap times with the intermediate tyre, but you're still clearing more water with the wets than what you would do with the intermediates, ready for a later run during the session.
You would think so, wouldn't you? You'd think you'd want to, maybe clear the water first. We're going to see what Guti's lap time actually is. 2 seconds down there on Jan's lap time, proving that these intermediate tyres are not ready for the circuit. But Josh, the reason why he's obviously fueled up for so many laps is the inters are only going to get better from here on out. Obviously, as you've mentioned, maybe you want to go out, clear the full wets, the track full wets first. But I think honestly, you've got 17 cars out here on inters, apart from one who's on the full wets. These intermediate tyres will clear out the water. Obviously, we see one of the is that the ART drivers now? Just gone second fastest, almost about a second off of Jan's time. Jan finding a bit more time in the first sector, but Gucci there has found 1.2 seconds in the first sector, Josh.
Yeah, you could assume some of that is going to be down to the track evolution, it drying out slightly, but then again, how much more of it is covered from that little mistake you made in going down into T1? There's a lot of these different sort of scenarios you can find yourself in, especially running on a tyre which might not be the most optimal one, as we see Alexia there popping in the purple with a 128.9, showing the track is drying up slightly. Even if the rain's not stopping, these tyres do a magnificent job at clearing the water out of the way.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think the Inters are starting to come into their own here. I would be surprised if we see Jan not pull into the pits now and try and get himself a full wet tyres. I think he's going to finish this next lap on full wets, but he's just done another lap there, and he's only 6 tenths faster. He's actually down on the intermediate times. We're going to see Guti come across the line now in the Ferrari. Let's see what he can do for WR. Where's he going to put his car? He's going to put his car onto the front row, about a couple of tenths off of Alexi's lap time there. But lap times are only going to get faster, Josh. These first laps in this qualifying session aren't really going to mean a lot. It's just about getting a lap time on the board. But I promise you that, as we can see Victor Wilder there just go onto provisional pole with a 28.6. Lap times are only going to get quicker. It's curious, though. We obviously don't know the weather in the race. Are we going to get rain in the race as well? Maybe some of these guys have got wet setups on if we are, or maybe they're going to have dry setups on. As we see the other WR driver of, is that Dovzan? Dovzan? I want to say
Dovzan, clearly.
Dovzan.
Yes.
Dovzan goes onto provisional pole with a 27.3, and Quinton goes onto the front row with a 28.2.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of seen so far WR seem to be one of the teams to beat in this championship, along with the likes of TF10, both of which still haven't come out of the pits. But Tom Roberts is another one of those drivers where you can expect him to pull off a little bit of magic here and there, as we see Daniel there retiring from the session in the pit lane. So, I'll tell you what. Shall we ride on board with Tom Roberts, see what he's capable of here?
Yeah, let's see what he's going to do. So he's going to come down into turn 1, and now the tricky section here. You can ride these curves very nicely without invalidating, and even in the wet you want to have at least a little clunk on those curves. Now down the back straight now, the second major back straight. DRS would normally be enabled if you were running in the dry, but of course in the wet we're not going to be enabling DRS. Now into the left-hander, and then switch it back into the right. Such a slow and awkward section here, especially in the wet. And now the double apex corner hits both those apexes very nicely, and now getting the power on for the middle sector. Now you want to swing it to the left, and you want to run over that curve and then swing it back to the right. You don't want to ride that curve too much, especially in the wet, and then swing it back to the right. This section is normally flat out in the dry, but you have to pick it so carefully in the wet.
You just see how tedious he's having to be with the throttle there, can't you?
Yeah.
And I feel like that goes, without saying, around a track like Mexico, where the majority of the circuit is full throttle. I believe it's plus 70%, I believe, of this entire circuit is full throttle. Just having to be so cautious going through certain parts of the track, making sure to kind of feather the throttle to get the car balanced in. And again, not being able to take that short route to the line could potentially cost a little bit of time here and there, as Tom Roberts finds himself up into P2. Not a bad result at all, but with each lap these drivers do, the track's drying up more and more and more, and I'm sure we can definitely see some of these drivers pull out a maybe a slightly shocking lap where they'll be able to sort of find themselves jumping up a fair few more positions than what they would initially expect, which could give them a bit of confidence, but at the same time, it can give them a little bit of too much confidence and overconfidence around a technical circuit like this, where a lot of the corners are awkward. You know, they're not exactly Formula One sort of S corners, not high downforce, they're very slow, methodical, paced out, especially in these wet conditions. It could cause you to overdrive the car just slightly.
Yeah, it could do. It'd be very interesting to see what we got. Our WR driver going to cross the line now. Goes 27.7 there. I think he was waiting to recharge his battery. Didn't get the recharge he needed. But Josh, obviously the rain has lightened up a lot here. There's a little sun coming out. I can see the track has got a bit lighter. Do you think we're going to get any dry running in this
Well,
qualifying session?
I can give us a little bit of inside information. If I really quickly chuck it over to another screen, I'll tell you what, we've not seen it yet. Let's have a look at the podium from last week around the Hungaroring. Tony Roche wins the race. Phenomenal stuff, right? There's no question about it. He was absolutely fantastic, and then of course we had Zach Miles and Elias having a great run as well, trying to keep up the pace with those guys. And yeah, certainly feel like it's a shame to not have the likes of Tony racing here today. But you know, on that same note, we do have many other drivers here who are capable to kind of keep up their running and really give it a good run. And one of those drivers, as we're going to real quickly hop back over to the game, is Alexei. It's just put in a 127 flat. It's a brilliant lap time, but I can confirm this rain is here to stay for the qualifying. Got you.
For the qualifying.
For the qualifying. If a race is looking to be a little bit more dry, which would hopefully give a couple of these drivers a bit of a better opportunity to try and grab a couple of extra positions here. But again, it's all going to come down to setup. How many of these drivers have prioritised it being a little bit more wet? Chucked a couple notches higher on the wing values to try and get a little bit more downforce, especially heading into the braking zones around here, and for that awkward sector too. But when it comes to dry running, they're going to be so much draggier down that main straight. They're going to be like sitting ducks. It's going to be like taking candy from a baby if you've gone for a dry setup around here in comparison to a wet one.
Yeah, and it's very much on the limit around this circuit because you want downforce for that middle sector, but you also need a lot of straight line speed for the main straight because that DRS zone is so long and so powerful that you're really going to struggle to hold any car behind you, no matter what kind of wing you're running. Even if you're running a very low wing, I think you're going to really struggle. But Defi going for another lap here with 6 minutes left on the clock. The rain is lightening up here, but as Josh is saying, rain here to stay for this session. But I imagine could get a bit lighter in terms of lap times as well, because these guys are only going to get faster as we go out here. Defi's first sector, just going to cross the line, goes 0.2 faster in the first sector. So already looking to improve their lap time here for the CPI driver.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Jan.
Oh, wow.
Goes second fastest.
We'll just say Defi has invalidated his lap time there, so he's going to have to try and scurry himself all the way back around. He's got 5 minutes to do so it should be plenty of time, but it's just whether he's decided to add a little bit more fuel. But also, Zach, this is where we're going to start seeing these lap times come down. Quinton there as well, hopping up into P2. You can really start seeing the track evolution and the progress it's making at this point for some of these drivers to be able to capitalise on this opportunity to be able to get themselves a good couple of laps in here. Now, it comes to the question, and I'm going to pose this one at you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Would you prefer to be out there for maybe 1 or 2 runs on the same set of tyres, similar to what we saw Otso do before chucking in that lap? Or would you kind of prefer to go out for that, one shot, 1 run right at the end of a session, hoping that the track conditions would improve?
It's interesting, isn't it? I quite like doing in the wet, especially. I like doing lap after lap because I feel like my confidence gains a lot more from doing lap after lap rather than just doing the 1 lap, or waiting until right at the end of the session. I don't know what Zach Miles and the Ferrari are doing here.
I think they're just making friends, no?
They're going to give each other grid drops, and we're going to have to restart the lobby. No one wants that.
No. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It is a bit weird.
Oh, okay. They're causing contact to one another.
Very strange.
Do we think it's because Zach really wants this toe?
I don't know. But he's not going to get a toe from being that close.
No.
That's not how toes work. I'm still watching this.
This is peculiar. Yeah, let's ride on board, see what's happening here.
Are they following each other into the pits? I don't know what's going on. Oh no, Zach's just pulling into the pits. What a really odd thing.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Well, the WR driver going for the lap time now. Probably their last lap of the session, or maybe their second last, with 3 minutes to go on the clock.
Yeah, we've also got Dobzan on a lap here. He's just set a purple middle sector, approaching into the stadium. And you can see how much that Ferrari car really does not want to bite down on that slightly drier piece of track. It wants to slide, it wants to run wide, it wants to just find itself in a more comfortable position. But Yerne is doing a fantastic job to be able to control that car and keep it in one piece, coming up towards the line with a 125 flat. And with 3 minutes left to go, he's got enough time to go round once again and get himself a little bit more ERS charge before going for another flying lap. He could potentially find himself in a brilliant position.
Yeah, just got to recharge the battery now for the Ferrari driver who's just put it on provisional pole. I'm just watching Gutti's lap here. He's going for his flying lap of the session. What's his middle sector looking like? It should be coming up to the line now. It's 1.1 seconds up here, Josh. Purple middle sector for the WR driver. Could we put both Ferraris on the front row here in Mexico City? Let's find out. Coming through the final stadium section, so twisty and tight, this stadium section. Coming around the final corner, such an awkward corner in the dry, even more awkward in the wet. Short run up to the line, crosses it, only goes 5th fastest. Lost a lot of time in the stadium section.
Yeah, he didn't manage to find any extra time in that stadium section, or was he? But you might have to consider 2 minutes left to go. He's got enough time to do a prep lap, recharge that battery. It just depends how much life those tyres are going to have in when it comes to necessarily that second run and that other opportunity. But something we will want to keep an eye on is Renz here. I was about to say 2805 Renz, but Renz will do, right?
Renz will do.
Renz will do.
He's no Tom 337565, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. That name is forbidden to speak about anywhere else. But Renz has just lost the rear there, and you shouldn't have compared him to Tom, because you compare him to a driver like Tom, and he's got to perform like Tom.
Ah, it's a shame.
Wow. Yerne here is going to be looking to try and put another lap time on the board. Currently sitting with a 25 flat, but he does have competitors already on their outlaps looking to get those tyres into a good position. But Yerne, he's not going to care too much, is he? He's going to be dialed into the zone, wanting to find that perfect piece of track and just hoping that once he does catch the Aston Martins... Oh, bless me. Oh,
bless you.
Excuse me there. Wow, okay, that surprised me. I wasn't expecting to actually sneeze.
It's the rain. Ooh. You're allergic to rain.
I am. I'm allergic to the rain in Mexico. Just in Mexico City though. The rest of Mexico.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the altitude as well. It probably doesn't help with my sneezes.
What? Yone? Oh, Zach.
No, we're not having a restart. Maze has confirmed it. We don't restart for that, so Zach's just going to have to suck up the punishment.
That's your fault, Zach, for following cars in the rear so closely.
Absolutely, but Yone here looking to try and find that window, and he seems to have done quite a good job to find this window, make sure it's open track.
It's not improving though.
2 Alfa Romeos, and he is recharging the battery, so he's just making sure he can get back around in time, and he will be one of the last drivers to come across this line to set his lap time, if not the last one, because he's going to
be cutting it close though.
He certainly will be. He's got 10 seconds left.
8, 7, 6.
He's got it. He's
5,
got it.
4, 3, 2, 1.
He's absolutely got it. But a certain driver here looking to make another improvement is the only RLS driver who's been able to make it here today, and that'll be Otso. We know he's a very talented driver. He's a young gun, certainly looking to try and put a name out there for himself. He's done so well so far in this championship, but again, we're just seeing that final corner catch a couple people off guard, aren't we?
Caught him out again.
Absolutely.
Tom Roberts can't improve.
Comes across the line. He does improve, but he doesn't jump any positions, which is the sad part there for Tom. But Aaron Ramigos hopping up into PA, and then we do have both the ABS drivers. We do have the first one of Jan coming across the line for ABS, and then we're going to have to see and ride on board with Quentin here, who's handling the stadium section with so much tedious control. It's almost ridiculous how little input these drivers are trying to put in on the throttle, on the wheel, to make sure the car doesn't have any horrible moments. But it's going to come up to the line, a 25-4, that's nothing to shout about, really. But again, it's an improvement. He's jumped up to P3. He's doing a fantastic job. He's just got to make sure he's able to transfer it into the races. Definitely invalidated his lap time. He won't be able to move up any further forward. What about Vuk Garcia here? P14 has a slight wobble coming out of that final corner. He's only able to find himself up into P11. Now we've got this little squabble we've seen here between the Aston Martins and the Alfa Romeos, and I don't believe we're going to be able to find much of an improvement. Victor Wilder, on the other hand, has managed to find over 4 attempts of improvement, but it doesn't even matter, because Yane jumps back up into pole position there with a 1:24.6 to round out this session. Now,
closer than he thought.
Yes, absolutely. You've got to consider as well on 4-lap old intermediate tyres. Going for those extra runs, making sure he's got that fuel on board. WOR help themselves to a pole position here.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Well done.
But it was a lot closer from WOR, I think they were thinking.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, with TF10 both from not qualifying, it gives an opportunity to a couple of these drivers, but you've got to think. Running down into turn 1, it's the longest run from pole down into the first corner. Victor, Zach, Quentin, Alexis, Jan, Otso are all going to be able to pick up a tremendous slipstream off the back of the two running towards the front of this field. So, there is still an opportunity for these drivers to make a move, but let's run you real quickly through the qualifying order. We've got Dovzan there grabbing the pole position, then we've got an NLR 2-3 with Wilder and Miles doing a brilliant job securing their Alfa Romeos onto that, well, I want to say second row of the grid, but...
Miles has a 5-place good drop.
Yes, absolutely. Quentin in P4, Alexi P5, Jan P6, Otso P7, Gabriel P8, Ira Amigos P9, Guti P10, Buck, Snorken, Devi, Tom Roberts, and then I do believe we had the other Mercedes, and then both McLarens towards the back. So, it's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully my weather forecast was correct, and it will be dry, so we can see a little bit of that DRS come to power, because we know how strong it can be around here.
Yeah, we certainly do know how strong the DRS. And, well, it's not just dry, Josh. It's sunny. It's very sunny.
That's a nice change.
Isn't it? Obviously,
we'll take that.
As we're from the UK, we don't see sun very often.
I can't remember the last time I saw the sun out without clouds covering it.
No, I actually can't remember either. Well, isn't that depressing?
No, it's Britain.
Oh.
So yes, it's depressing. But we don't need to worry about that, because we're in Mexico. Mexico, beautiful, bliss, great food, great atmosphere. You've got all the people in costumes, putting on parades, celebrating the fact that Formula One's visiting this brilliant country. Despite them not necessarily having a championship-winning driver for the last couple of years, 2024 will be Sergio Perez's year.
I think you're being sarcastic, Josh.
Me? Sarcastic? No. No.
Because no, you never would be. Never.
I think you're being sarcastic.
Me? Never.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure. But
sure.
Anyway.
Enough about our Sergio Perez bias.
Yes. The real GOAT, the one who's carrying Red Bull to constructors' titles by himself. But anyway, moving on from Perez. What's the strategy around here, Alex? I know you're a soft tyre compound lover. I got it out.
I think it's a 2-stop.
Oh.
I think we're looking for a 2-stop here.
Just no more than that.
I'd love to see someone go soft, medium, medium. It's not going to happen, but I'd like to see it.
Okay, well, what will happen?
Medium hard.
Okay, well. How many of these drivers are they going to...
Or hard medium.
I mean, we saw last week, right? There were ample opportunities for safety cars to come out. And I feel like when you've got that awkward second sector, thinking about the likes of Turn 5 as well, there could be a chance for a safety car here again.
Safety cars are common around Mexico. We do see them quite a lot.
Does anyone out towards the front of the field decide to risk it on a set of soft tyres and try and get a cheaper pit stop to dive over to the hards?
But you're betting your tyre strategy on a safety car then, at that point.
Yeah.
And then if one doesn't happen, you're betting that your pace can recover from the safety car.
Well, I suppose it all comes down to what sort of setups they want to run, whether they've gone for...
Of course.
a slightly more efficient setup when it comes to trying to get overtakes, or maybe a slightly draggier setup where we can try and pull away in Sector 2. I mean, we saw it yesterday, didn't we, with Lando Norris having a really well-built setup on that McLaren to make sure he can get a gap in Sector 1 over the likes of the Mercedes, who had a more slipstream-orientated setup where they wanted to try and grab cars within the DRS. We saw how that one worked out. It came out with the Ferrari lead in the pack. So,
Yeah.
can we get...
Came out with an 18-year-old ahead of everyone else.
Oh, wow.
Formula 1.
Formula 1. Makes you really think. If anyone's going to try and brave it today, go for something a little different, something a little unique.
Yeah.
And give it their own twist.
Be more Bearman.
Be more Bearman. Not like Paddington Bear. Like
Rar. Do you think he goes rar as a celebration because he's a bear?
No. I just want to point out as well, the have you seen his Twitter profile picture?
What, Bearman's?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
It's him with a little bear in front of his face.
Well, he's a bear. His name is Bear Man.
That doesn't mean Hamilton's got a leg of ham in front of his face.
True.
Oh. But we do have Nordic Ninja in chat saying Otso going to get some good points today. I wouldn't even rule him out of a podium, Ninja, to be quite honest with you.
I like Otso. I think Otso's very fast.
Yeah, he's very fast. He's still young. He's still got a little bit of experience to gain. And I feel like around a track like Mexico, it's going to force him to learn slightly quicker than the likes of the Hungaroring or Catalunya. So, it's going to be a challenge for him, but definitely looking forward to it, as I do believe I saw someone retire. Well.
Josh, have we got some features going on?
I think we might have some Formula 1 2023 features.
Hang on.
See if we can confirm the features.
Yeah. Restarting with pen standing.
Yep, Nordic says, when I think about Bearman, I think about beer. And I feel like it would be an absolutely fantastic way to celebrate what he's been able to do by cracking a cold one with the boys. But unfortunately, we are currently working and cannot crack one with you, Ninja. But if we could, I'll cheers you, but I don't have a glass of anything next to me. So, have a Minecraft chicken. Chink. There you go. Sorted. Lovely. Brilliant. Well, we've got a lobby restart. What do we talk about, Alex?
What do we talk about, Josh?
Now, I'm not a fan of this, and I'm not a fan of the suggestion I'm about to make.
Yes.
Nordic's asking if we're the same commentators from PSF1 and PS2. No.
No.
We're not. We're not. No.
We do PC.
We do PC F1, because you're here and you can see us. Hopefully. But no, we don't do the PlayStation coverage. I mean, they deserve their own rights, to be honest, over on PlayStation, don't we? Fantastic team here at EML. But yeah, we're just here. We're PC. We're PC boys. Always have been. We're just here to try and see some brilliant racing. But unfortunately, the game comes through once again with some brilliant features, making it just a little bit more difficult for us to really try and get a look about what's happening in this game. But Nordic, if you don't know us, you will know us by the end of Alex reading his book. Say horrible book. Go grab it.
It's just here. It's on my desk.
Okay, it's a horrible book filled with facts about Formula 1. And it's absolutely terrible.
There you go. There's the book. As you can see, that's an engineer. You can tell. That's a wheel. That's an F1 car.
Just read the book, man. Read the book.
That's also an F1 car.
Come on.
Read the book.
Get your facts out.
Let's read a fact. Should I see if I can find a Mexico City fact?
Yeah, sure. Just let him cook. Let him cook.
Let me cook. Come on. Here's an interesting one because we had a wet session to start.
Brace yourself.
Every second a Formula One car driving in the wet displaces 250 liters of water.
Okay. But how
Okay.
much of it stays off the racing line, which is the important part?
It doesn't say.
It doesn't say. Well, you want to know what team's missing? We'll chuck up a lineup graphic, and it'll be the Alpines. So, if we do a little look there, we can see, I do believe that's Customs GT with Sergio Quesada and Marcos Olomedro. I think that's how you say it. Both of them weren't in the lobby for the qualifying. It's unfortunate, but it's not the end. And then, of course, we was also missing Otto's teammate of Danny Daniels, which for some reason wasn't able to appear in that session either. But hopefully they'll be able to make it towards a race. But Alex, go on, give us another fact.
Another fact.
Yes.
Xbox claim that Formula One cars can be driven upside down, given that it has the best component, but the primary source of this is aerodynamic force of F1 cars.
Can you read the middle part of that again? It's got the best component of what? Driving?
I have read that word for word, by the way. Okay, read it again. Experts claim that F1 cars can be driven upside down, given that it has the best components, comma. But the primary source of this is the aerodynamic force of F1 cars.
So it's literally just saying, if you've got the best F1 car, it can drive upside down, but if you've got an Alpine, it can't. Is that what it's trying to say?
I think that's what it's explaining, yeah.
Honestly, you got to stop with the Alpine hate, honestly. Not saying that because I'm biased, I'm saying it because we've seen Renault struggle before. Think about when they joined the sport. They came back with vengeance. And a certain Spanish driver, and they gave him a car which he could deliver world championships with, despite not being at the talent peak, let's say.
How long is the lifespan of an F1 engine? In terms of races?
If it's a Honda one, about 2 weeks.
It says 5 races.
I like Nordic Ninja. You can't turn without a steering wheel. Alex, can you read off the helmet fact for Nordic, please?
The helmet fact. Oh,
The
Nordic, you'll
helmet
like this
fact.
one. You'll like this one. Should I read out the F1?
Yes.
What an F1 car fact is as well.
Yes.
Okay. This is for you, Nordic. All right. An F1 car is an open-wheel, open-cockpit, single-seat racing car.
Brilliant. Superb.
Yeah.
I needed to know
And also,
that.
safety is crucial in F1.
Is that just it?
No, there is more.
Okay, elaborate.
And a tubular titanium structure called a halo protects drivers from large objects and debris during races.
So it's just gone, yeah, that ring around the car to protect them. It's a ring around the car to protect them.
This is a good one. You ready?
No.
Drivers sit horizontally in their cockpits in seats molded to their bodies with pedals towards the front of the car. As opposed to behind their head.
I thought they sat vertically. I thought they was standing completely upright. Oh
Yeah,
my.
apparently so. An F1's car rear wing is crucial for aerodynamic stability.
Thank you.
Each race in a season is called a Grand Prix or GP, and all the races in a season combined are called Grands Prix. What? Grands Prix. That doesn't make any sense.
Grands Prix. It's
No, it says
pronounced
Prix.
pre, Alex.
It says Prix.
Have they spelt it wrong? This book is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen.
Hang on, I'm going to read this fact. Red Bull Racing holds the record for the fastest time, having registered a time of 2.05 seconds at the start of the 2013 season. But it doesn't explain...
For what?
It doesn't say.
They just hold a record for a time.
It just says it holds the record for the fastest time, having registered a time of 2.05 seconds at the start of the 2013 season. I guess I guess it think it means pit stop, but that's not true anymore.
So if it is, every 2.05 seconds, you've got to pray and say thank you to Red Bull Racing for acknowledging your existence and allowing you to exist. That's what the books just said. Must be true. It must be true.
I just read the fact above it. When a driver pulls into a pit stop, that means it's time for high-speed tyre changing.
I didn't think this book could get worse from what I heard the other week, but it's got worse.
I haven't read all these properly. This is amazing.
Chat, I can confirm, when cars go to a pit stop, it is time for high-speed tyre changes.
Qualifying, which takes place on Saturdays, determines the starting order for the Sunday races.
Can we build books to it even further? The further you start towards the front, the better grid position.
The driver with the fastest lap during the race gets an extra point. The top 10 drivers in each F1 race receive points.
It's not even true. If we get 11 DNFs before 70% of a race, 10th place doesn't get any.
True. Due to the intense heat from the F1 car and cockpit, the drivers must stay hydrated during the race. They must stay hydrated during the race.
I agree with Nordic. Bottas cannot agree with fast pit stops, and I also think Kimi Räikkönen won't be able to agree with the drinks situation given the amount of times he's not been able to have the drink.
Yep, true. Kimi, you will not have
Kimi.
the drink.
I miss Kimi.
I miss Kimi too.
I just want him back. Everything feels so empty without Kimi around. I'm gonna start crying.
Trailing medical cars are the world's fastest ambulances.
That's not true. At all.
The crash helmet is the most important piece of Wait, no, that's not what it says. The crash helmet is the most important pieces of safety equipment. It doesn't even say equipment, it says kit.
I would have thought, that titanium box within the car to protect the drivers would be the most important bit of kit for the drivers, more so than a helmet.
No.
Oh, I'm wrong. My bad. My bad.
Do you know that all drivers who wish to compete in F1 must have an FIA super license? No? Do you know that fact?
Interesting. Norton Ninja comes in with his own, if you crash, you crash would be a good line for that book. I agree.
Yeah, it would be.
I agree. Right, okay. I'm
gonna cut it tight for my racing today, that's for sure.
Right. While we're still waiting for a couple of these drivers to ready up. What's an F1 driver's favourite fairy tale?
I don't know, Josh.
Mansell and Gretel.
Nice. This is the level we're at, by the way, now, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're doing for today's race. Do you know most F1 cars are filled with nitrogen because it has more consistent air pressure than normal air? Oh, we're starting, Josh. Josh, we're starting.
I've just read another one. What did the cat say when he got picked for a Formula 1 race?
I don't know, Josh. What did the cat say when he got picked for a Formula 1 race?
Meow.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
Let's just show the game. I don't want to. Yeah, no.
This has been quality today. I mean,
it's been something. See, Nordic, I see where you're coming from with Crofty and his lines would carry that book. I see where you're coming from, but I feel like Crofty would actually rewrite the lines in the book, but like it would lose its effect. He would actually try and add on to the point. He wouldn't just read it and move on to the next one. Asking me how I'm cooking like that. I'm not sure what I'm cooking, but it's certainly raw at the minute. I definitely haven't turned the oven on yet, but hopefully a couple of these drivers might be able to heat up the oven by giving us a brilliant race here to start things out here once again. It is dry. We're looking forward to it. Alex, give me a prediction.
ours will cross the line first.
I hate you.
Probably WR, I'd reckon. That's my guess.
I'm going to keep my prediction nice, short and sweet, and we'll find out within the first 30 seconds of this race. They're going to go 3 wide down into turn 1 on lap 1.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
It'll go terribly. We're going to get a lawnmower segment heading through turn 3, but I'm calling it right now. I see it happening.
Let's see, shall we? Let's find out.
Are we having another feature?
I really hope not. Because I do not have all day.
I know you don't. There we go.
But here we go. We're going for your 5 red lights here, ladies and gentlemen. 5 red lights! And we're underway for the Mexican Grand Prix at EM. Now, that is a good start from our pole sitters. We run down, the long run down into turn 1. We got Victor Wilder taking the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. We're going to have cars go almost 3 wide into turn 1. You can see one of the Saubers on the inside, going to go down the inside as we got the 2 Sauber and Ferrari battling into turn 1 as the LLR of Victor Wilder takes the lead. As people are going off the road, we got yellow flags, we got front wings flying around. But right now it's Victor Wilder who's leading from WR, from Quinton for ABS.
Yes, absolute carnage heading down there, and the carnage is still compiling in. We've got Aaron Ramírez there looking to try and help his teammate get through the pack a little easier, and he's done just that. Both of the Shizou drivers currently sitting in P7, P8 looking to move further forward, but you've got to take a look at the likes of Daniel Gottschalk on that hard compound tyre, making up plenty of positions early on, finding himself on the back of Guti there of the WOR. But again, so many instances just happening all throughout this grid, drivers pushing one another off circuit, trying to get moves done. But again, it's going to be very, very close. It's not up to us, it'll be up to the stewards, and it'll be on their regards what sort of decisions are going to be made. Personally, I feel like it might just be a little bit of close competitive racing, especially considering we've got a bit of desync in the lobby as well. You can't really go too harsh on a couple of these drivers, but one thing we can tell you at this moment in time, Victor leads the race, but he's not out of the woods just yet. Yerne here is going to get a brilliant little tow heading all the way down into turn 1. And it wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing a change for position before even the DRS gets open.
Yeah, you're going to expect that because, to be honest with you, ERS is so powerful and so slipstream. As I'll be going to see the WR drivers and the NLR driver go wheel to wheel here in a second, because we've got Zach Miles in third now behind. So both Saubers looking to take a 1 and 2 advantage here in Mexico. Can he go around the outside of Victor Wilder here? No, he's going to go for a little switchback. Oh, but these guys on the hard tyre, they're going to take it a bit slower at the opening stages here. Something I will mention, Zach Miles has used a lot of ERS on this opening stint.
Yeah, well, he would have needed to, wouldn't he, to try and close back in. Keep within this gap, but again, it comes to one of those points where if Victor wants to try and hold up his pack through the stadium section, he's got that luxury. Had the great pleasure of working on the EOR event last night, and we saw that around Singapore, going up to the bridge section. We saw the Ferrari drivers backing up the rest of the field to try and give their teammate the best opportunity possible to get some moves done. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see NLR Victor trying to do something a little bit similar through the stadium section, just trying to hold Yerge up just a little bit more, so it gives that extra bit of time for Zach to just brake drag a slight amount, trying to recharge any bit of battery possible. And you could already see here the pace behind of those drivers is absolutely rapid, so Victor's certainly doing a brilliant job trying to hold up the rest of his field. But how long will he be able to hold him up for? Because if Yerge keeps getting runs like this, he's going to be under a lot of pressure throughout the rest of this stint. Yeah,
he certainly is. We're only on lap 3 here. Obviously, the reason we have so many laps here of Mexico, 36 to be exact, is it's, to be honest with you, quite a short lap. We get through it quite quickly in this case, as we're going to see Can the WR driver go around the outside of Victor Wilder? No, Victor Wilder stays in the lead of the Grand Prix for Sauber here in Mexico City. It's just going to be about biding everyone's time. Looks like it's going to be a one-stop, Josh. Mediums to hards or hards to mediums as suspected here.
Yes, absolutely. And something I also want to point out as well. We've not had too much contact throughout the field. We had a little bit on lap 1 there, which is to be expected around Mexico. But throughout this middle section, we're not seeing anyone go for any silly moves, no one trying to desperately gain positions. They're more than happy just to follow within the DRS train, save up a little bit of extra battery, and kind of carry themselves further into this race. But down that main straight, that's going to be where they're going to be looking to try and get a bit more clean air, to cool down the engine, cool down the tyres just a little bit, to try and give them that competitive advantage heading down the second straight from turn 3 down to turn 4. That'll be where they're looking to try and make moves most of the time here. But with the DRS now being active, we can expect to see a couple of these rear wings pop up and maybe a couple of these drivers want to trade for positions just to try and work themselves forward slightly further than they would necessarily want to be sitting in at this moment in time. One of those drivers I want to keep a special eye on would be Zach Miles, currently in P3. He's going to want to try and jump past the WR driver of Yerne to try and find himself in that 1-2 situation with the Sauber outfit and NLR, just securing a potential win. Because all it would take is maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 laps to sort of hold up the rest of the field, and then you've created enough of a window for Victor to be able to run away with this race and not be put under pressure from the likes of DRS and ERS Burnage. But we are seeing a titanic battle down here at P9 between Daniel Gottschalk and Guti. Daniel there pulling off a spectacular move around the outside of the double right-hander before heading into the fast-sweeping S's. Great stuff there from Daniel.
Yeah, I was watching that battle actually going through turn 1s, 3 and 4, and to be honest with you, there was a 4-wide battle for quite a lot of it. Those medium tyres of Gabriel also trying to push them past the hard tyre runners, but Daniel took advantage and moved himself up into P9, but he's out of DRS range, the car's in front here, Josh, which means he will not get the DRS advantage down the max straight, and he's going to lose a lot of time and possibly get absolutely, well, the only way to say it is getting mugged off down the main straight here without the power of DRS.
Potentially, but again, it'll be one of those things. How much battery has he saved up? How much did he really deploy to try and get that move done? Because we'll ride on board here with Gucci, and you can just see he's not gaining as quick as he might have expected. Now, maybe that might be because the Ferrari went for a slightly wetter orientated setup for that qualifying and maybe a little bit more wings, but you can see Gucci who's really trying to push this car, perhaps slightly overdriving it heading into turn 1. But he's not alone. Daniel ended up clipping a little bit too much of a curb there. Cost him a little bit of time, but you can slowly see that gap start to expand because of the likes of Tom Roberts, Aaron Ramiguez, Jan, Alexei, Quinted, all just being within the DRS of the front three, pulling each other along, creating that gap, just making it a little bit wider, but it was the last lap, and that's going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because unless Daniel really wants to burn battery, he's going to very much struggle to try and hold on to that 1.7 second interval between the drivers.
Yeah, and we actually saw a change for the lead as well on that last lap as one of our WR driver now into the lead ahead of Victor Wilder, Zach Miles in 3rd place. It's close inside this top 3. Both NLR drivers trying to work together here. It's very, very close.
Absolutely. I don't feel like it'll last forever for Yerne, though. He can push as much as he wants, but the DRS around here, it's almost a joke, isn't it? I say almost. I'll be honest, it is a joke. Getting in the DRS, getting in the slipstream. You don't even really need to deploy the battery, and you'll more than easily pull 5, 6, 7, 8 temps on the car in front, and that's exactly what we've seen. Yerne not putting up too much of a defence, willing to work together with the one NLR driver, but it's imperative that he stays ahead of Zach Miles, but he's lost out there. Now, all it'll take is Zach Miles to slowly keep backing Yerne up here, whether it's going to be through this next sort of technical part of the track, or whether it's going to be towards the stadium section. We're going to have to wait and see, but Zach Miles can very easily kind of secure a win here for NLR already on lap 6 just by backing up the field a bit.
Yeah, it was interesting there. Yerne kind of looked like he had the defence covered, and then got a bit of snap of oversteer coming out of the turn 1, and it allows Zach Miles to go around the outside. So it's now an NLR 1-2 here, as Yerne now into 3rd. He will get DRS advantage, but Zach Miles interestingly has DRS as well. So this could be really interesting now. Good battle between WR and NLR, but of course Guti, the other WR driver, down in 10th. So Yerne kind of fighting with one hand at the moment, while his teammate is further down the grid.
Yeah, and if you saw the gap between Daniel and Tom as well, now 2.3 seconds, opened up by 6 temps over the course of that lap. Of course, we've got 3 DRS zones around here, adding to that misery. Daniel's got his work cut out to try and close up here.
Yep, he certainly does. But there we go. We've got NLR and WR fighting it out into turn 1. Will Yerne go all around the outside of Zach Miles? Zach is probably in no mood to yield today. And Zach now defends his second place. And he's going to be under pressure now, Yerne, if he's not careful, from Quinton, from the ABS driver behind, as we got a decent battle going out through the grid right now. AlphaTauri, Sauber, Ferrari, we got Alexi, we got another AlphaTauri, we got a Mercedes as well. We've got an 8-car battle for the lead here, Josh.
Yes, we've certainly seemed to have split this grid almost perfectly in half, all the way from P1 to P8 and then P9 to P17. Technically, all within that sort of area to have a battle. One thing I will mention, Joel and Deffy, they started on the hard compound tyres, so they've had to swap over to the mediums. So they'll be going for your 2-stop strategy, Alex, but with only 1 lap on the hard compound. So might not be the sort of strategy you was anticipating, but they are technically doing a 2-stop. So
it is technically a 2-stop.
You got to give them credit.
Yeah, you got to give people credit for trying the 2-stop. I mean, it's a strategy that no one does because, unfortunately, in this modern era of Formula 1, it's just not viable. It's just not as quick as doing the 1-stop, unfortunately, which is a shame. But you know, maybe in the future we can bring in the 2-stops more often.
I say we bring back the 4-stop around Magny-Cours. Michael Schumacher was able to pull off all those years ago before Alex.
And that was a fuel change as well.
Yes.
And he had to have fuel as well.
I miss the glory days of Ferrari. And I think Yerne does as well, because he's certainly looking to try and rejuvenate something in that Scuderia Red. As I do believe we might have seen the Williams of Snooken there for ART end up spinning coming out of turn 2. Unfortunate, but you've got to think, ART, it's the first race of his championship. It's got very much going to be a learning curve for him, trying to push himself forward. It'll just take a little bit of time to kind of get adjusted back into, you know, the sort of role at EML, how it works, how they can operate, and how they can most effectively boost their chances of scoring a good handful of points.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but obviously your first race back, you know, just being back in it and qualifying is fine. It's a long race to go, so only lap 8 of 36. Sorry, I got a bit of a run out of breath there for a second. As Victor Wilder still leads the way from Zach Miles, and then we got Yerne. Is it Yerne? I think it's Yerne. As Quinton also still involved here in this fight. I guess Yerne just thinking in his head that, you know, he's got both NLR drivers in front of him. They're going to play games. Of course they are. But he's not really got to do anything too majorly special right now. He's just got to sit and bide his time. Yeah,
that's what all these drivers up at this front have to do, because they'll all be waiting for the first driver to try and get in that undercut, because we know how prominent it is in this year's game. It can gain you massively, you know, looking at 3, 4, 5 seconds potentially. So, potential for Daniel to get an undercut to try and jump 1 or 2 cars in this train and try and find himself working himself back up through this lead train isn't off the table, but around a circuit where it's as reliant on DRS as it is, maybe an undercut wouldn't be the best strategy. Maybe trying to go for the overcut, following cars in front, just following sort of their strategy, and ensuring that you can pick up the DRS of the car, even if the car in between you guys ends up pitting. That's going to be a key point. You're gaining roughly, what? Almost a second per lap just by being in the DRS of a car. That's a lot. That's a lot to lose out, and I don't feel like you'd be able to gain it, even if it was for a fresh set of mediums.
No, and it's not just the DRS which is powerful here, Josh. It's slipstream.
Yes.
As I think I used a couple of weeks ago, it's kind of very similar this year's game to the NASCAR. Sitting in that slipstream of a car in front, obviously not as powerful as it is in that sport, because obviously they go around in a circle. But it's the sort of similar presence where you have to stick within someone's slipstream, and as long as you're matching their pace, you're not going to lose them. You're just going to be gaining time. As Guti there making a move on Daniel into turn 1. But again, he's 2.9 seconds back on this lead pack, and he's got a lot of work to do to catch up there.
Yeah, and you've got to think, the more these guys fight for P9, it's just going to increase that gap, isn't it? It's going to become bigger and bigger, and then TF10 are more and more less likely to try and make it a 3 in a row here for race wins. Of course, last week we had Tony Roche, and the week before that we also had Tony Roche picking up wins. TF10 certainly showing they might be missing one of their star men.
Yeah, certainly. TF10, well, yeah, WR need a big win, but yeah, TF10 also missing their star boy. But We're 10 laps into this 36-lap race, Josh. It's a bit of a slow burner right now, as we suspect from these eSport drivers, because of course they know that they can't just go flat out the entire race as much as we'd love to see it. So, what lap are we thinking for the undercut? Lap 16?
I'd say later.
Later?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got to make medium tyres go to the end of the race, so...
I'm thinking, if I was going to say if it was going to be a stern undercut for these hard compound runners, I would say probably lap 13, 14.
Yes, I think that's probably what we're expecting. Alexi is actually battling here with Quinton. We're just watching a good battle there. Alexi really kind of showed themselves off in Hungary, but unfortunately it all came crashing down towards the end of the race. And now a little bit of a rubbing is racing, as we call it. Josh, you're a big fan of rubbing in racing.
Absolutely. End of the day, it's where we see the best racing, is it not? Think
True.
about 2021. Think about Schumacher back when he had a competition back in Ferrari. I mean, there's so many different times we've seen a little bit of wheel grazing, and it's never really hurt anyone. Yes, it can sometimes cause massive accidents, but in this year's game, thankfully, cars can't go teleporting or doing numerous backflips. Thinking back to Mark Webber as well there, especially. There's, they're more than welcome to give it a little rub in his racing, keep it nice and close. As long as they're not locking tyres, in my books, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah. I think anything's on the cards within limit, because of course we know how aggressive a lot of drivers are now in Formula One. Not naming any names, but he might start with Max and ends with Verstappen, as we see the NLR drivers swap places there. And now is that a strategy, Josh? Obviously, if you see an opponent coming a bit closer, you think, well, let's have a quick swap, and then I'll give a bit of defensive duty with the DRS, and you can go on ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's probably a bit of a tactical decision as well from NLR. As you might have really briefly seen, I'll bring up here once again. We got Victor on 30% ERS, while Zach Miles, who was just able to use the DRS, coast along, follow his teammate, is sitting on 50. Certainly a tactical decision. Just trying to split that ERS usage between both cars a little bit more evenly. Because at the minute, they know Yane is sitting on full battery. He's very comfortable in the position he's in. He doesn't have to burn anything. He's just not looking to try and get an overtake. He's more than happy just to sit behind and wait for that opportunity when one of these drivers decides to go in the pit, and then that's when he's going to strike. That's when he's going to go for the move. Yes, he'll give an undercut to one of the cars, but he'll be able to match the other one and stay ahead of him on track, ultimately gaining him a potential net position here. And with fresher tyres, you might have to say he might be one of the favourites to go on and maybe chase down the likes of a Zach Miles or a Victor, or maybe even a Quinton, just to try and reclaim his position, move himself further forward, and put himself in position to win this race.
Yep, it'll be very interesting to see how this one goes down, and I wonder if Yerne's running a little less straight line speed than the NLR drivers, because to be honest with you, I think he might have running a bit of wet setup. But again, I don't think he is. He hasn't lost any ERS. He's not using any. He knows what the situation is in, and he's actually going to get a good run here on Zach Miles, because Zach is not going to have any DRS. How hard will Zach defend this? As he's going to go force 12 around the outside. Zach going to break a bit later to try and keep himself up the inside, but can't do it. Can he get a nice switch back then? No, Yerne parks his car beautifully, and Zach Miles falls down into third place now. We'll get DRS advantage on Yerne, but Yerne is now right behind Victor Wilder, who will not have DRS down the main straight.
No, you've got to think with 100% battery as well. Yerne's in a great position to kind of dictate the tempo of what NLR do strategy-wise. They're going to be forced at this point now to pit Zach first to try and secure that undercut to make sure he gets the position. And then it gives Yerne and WOR engineers the opportunity to decide to try and go a little bit longer on this hard compound tyre to make sure they get the fresher rubber at the end. Go for the opposite of an undercut, which is called an overcut, if you would believe it or not. Who saw that one coming?
Who would have seen that one? No one.
Well, Buxton.
We don't see the overcut as much these days.
I know.
Apart from Max.
Yeah, and there's a good reason for it, because you need to have tremendous pace and a tremendous amount of, belief in yourself to be able to put in those laps and get those overtakes done whenever it's needed. But with what we're seeing here from Yerne, yes, he might be running slightly higher wings, but he's certainly making up that time in that middle sector and is always getting better traction out of each and every one of these corners, which will be absolutely critical considering if he's going to run more wings, he'll have the fresher tyres as well if he's going to go for this overcut sort of strategy. Getting a better exit should be able to put him on the back of these cars, which might have slightly older tyres, lower wings, worse exits, And then, of course, having a battery to deploy there just gives him that little bit of a safety net. But when he needs to make the overtake, he's able to do so.
Yep, certainly. He's just biding his time here. Ferrari clearly running the best strategy team on the show.
As
Josh knows
always.
about some Ferrari strategy. They always do. They always do. To be fair, they've actually so far this season been very, very good at strategy. But here's big news in the top 6 for once. Aaron Ramiguez picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. And that, considering he's sitting in 6th place and not very far off the lead, and a lot of cars are around him, he's going to lose a lot of time in that pit stop, Josh.
Yes, it's certainly going to hurt him a little bit in this pace as well. And you'd have to think it was an unforced error. He's got his teammate behind him, not really trying to go out on the offensive, not battling each other, just trying to follow Alexi as best as possible to try and get moves done wherever possible. Again, it's just one of those small, slightly silly errors which creep in to the likes of Aaron Ramiguez's game. He's not immune to them. No one is at the end of the day. All these drivers are human, despite some of the performances they make being almost superhuman. You know, mistakes happen. It's just one of those things what Aaron's going to have to realise. He's going to put his head down and really try and keep pushing on, because at this moment in time, Daniel Gottschalk is 4.4 seconds back, but you've got to think the likes of Tom Roberts, Alexi fighting, and also Jan now trying to get in the scrap here for the rear end of this train. That's going to help bring that time delta down. Daniel is going to start seeing this opportunity to start closing that gap, start deploying maybe a little bit more battery to close back up to this lead train. But again, we're seeing Yerne holding on to P2 here. Brilliant job so far from the WR driver, fighting a 2v1 all alone.
Yeah, fighting a 2v1, but he's doing a fantastic job. And actually, Alexi lost out on that last lap. Aaron Miguez, I think, has changed his strategy now because, of course, with that time penalty, I think he's just trying to make up more time now. So Alexi got pushed a bit wide coming out of turn 3. And it allowed not only Tom Roberts to go first, but also almost let Jan through as well. But Alexi defended Jan aggressively through the first couple of seconds. So we're on lap 16 of 36, 20 laps to go in this Mexican Grand Prix. As everyone's sort of buying their time, so we see another move there. Tom Roberts getting in front of Aaron Ramiguez there. So teammates swapping positions. And I imagine we're going to see the first couple of moves here. As Aaron Ramiguez has made a huge mistake there coming out of the sector, because he just lost a few places there and almost lost one to Jan, but just defended. And Jan's now out of DRS range of the car in front. We've got a little bit of gaps forming now in this front pack. I don't know what's happened to Ramiguez's pace or where he's dropped off to, but he's still battling with Jan here. Can Jan force his way all the way around the outside of Ramiguez? And I think he's done it. They're still wheel to wheel. No, Ramiguez still in front here into the middle sector. Not going to go wheel to wheel through there. And Ramiguez holds on to 7th place. But yeah, big drop off there as we see the pack split up now, Josh.
Yeah, and we see Daniel now 1.7 seconds off the back of Jan and Aaron. If he's able to catch up and get within that DRS, it'll be absolutely huge for the TF10 driver, and it might revitalise a little bit of that energy he might have had towards the start of this race, thinking that he could potentially go on and win it, as we do have a yellow flag in Sector 2, and that'll be for Rensver, the Williams driver, who spun it out of Sector 2. Unfortunate, but once again, learning. We're not going to be too harsh on him, because at the end of the day, it is their first time racing here in EML. It's one of those things. It's not the end of the world. Just going to have to keep your head down and keep going with the race. You can't let it phase you too much. But Jan, getting that move sorted on Aaron Ramiguez, needed to do so. He can't sit and wait behind forever. He clearly had the pace to keep it up with the front 7. You know, you've got to start thinking maybe Alexi and Aaron end up having a little bit of a coming together coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just one of those things where things will come together at some point during the race, and Daniel slowly catching up to Ramiguez. Ramiguez, with that 3-second time penalty, is going to cost him later in the race. Renz is into the pits. That's for a brand new set of hard tyres. So he's further down the grid, but he's trying something a bit different. We'll see if it pays off later in the race. But right now, Yane leads.
Yes, absolutely.
Mexican Grand Prix. He's taking the lead off of the NLR boys.
Doing a fantastic job, but it will come with a couple of consequences. Obviously, no DRS at this moment in time. But I don't think he'll necessarily mind that too much if he dives it into the pits, which could be an option here for the WR driver, but he will have to just kind of keep in mind that if he does dive it into the pits, he will have worse tyres heading into the next couple sections. You saw him have a big slide, but he's in the pit lane, presumably onto a set of medium tyres, but now that opens this window of opportunity for both the NLR drivers to work together, use each other's DRS, and pull each other along to try and counteract the effectiveness of the lap times Jan would be able to do on that fresh set of medium tyres.
It's interesting that Yane has decided to. Usually, we don't see the undercut from the leader.
Yeah.
We usually let the leader choose from other people's choices, but on this occasion, Yane has decided that he's going to pull the trigger early, and I wonder how long these guys on the hard tyre can go. And I wonder if maybe that's a little bit of a mistake from Dorua, but they're very clever. They know their advantages they have, and yeah, with one car fighting, maybe they've done something a bit different. Maybe the plan is to leave Guti out a bit longer to cause a bit of chaos in that battle for the lead. But let's see what NLR do. Do they react with one of their cars? You'd expect at least one reaction. Maybe not.
I
Obviously, they're
don't.
not going to pit both of them, but we'll
I don't
see.
think so. I think it'll be better for NLR to keep both the cars out. Just run each other in DRS. I feel like it's way too early to go without medium tyre. I reckon they could cut it, another 3, 4, 5, 6 laps before really needing to pit and cover off. But as soon as I say that, Victor dives it in the pits, leaves Zach Miles out here. Now he's going to have to trust that Tom Roberts will want to work with him and be able to trade the DRS between each other to try and help pull each other further along in this race to counteract that fresh set of medium tyres. But we will pay careful attention to how much Yane would be able to gain here as Victor Wilder coming out the pit lane now, and he will be behind Yane, but how much by is the question?
I think by about 2 seconds. Oh wow, it just proves once again how powerful the undercut is, Josh. 2.5 seconds Yane has gained on Victor Wilder there. Has 1 lap less tyre quality in terms of life. Also, as I predicted, they might keep Guti out. Nope, Guti also pitted that lap as well. So Dodo are going with the very aggressive undercut, I'd say.
Yes, absolutely. Now comes to these front runners. What sort of strategy are we going to do? They would have known they would have lost out. At this point, if you're looking to pit Zach Miles, you're looking at him maybe coming out behind Alexei, maybe even fighting Aaron, depending on how much time they're able to improve their laps by on that fresh set of rubber. So it's going to be more of a, dive it in now, or maybe take the time.
They're all diving it in.
Yeah, they do decide to dive it in.
Woohoo! Tom Roberts calling it a bit late there into the pit lane. I mean, he was right behind Zach Miles, but he was heavy on the brakes. Luckily, those tyres are not going to be used again this afternoon. Oh, he's been held in the pits. I think he got held up by a few cars in the pit lane. That's a bit of a shame. But Yane into third now, ahead of Zach Miles, ahead of Tom Roberts. Where is everyone else going to file out to? We're going to keep for Zach Miles, who's going to lose out to a few cars. Lost out to Alexei as well. Alexei jumps him in the pit lane as well.
Yep.
Well.
It's unfortunate, but then again, whoever the engineer for NLR is really needed to be in this YouTube chat, because Danny was saying the exact same thing. Go a little bit longer. It's not worth cutting it off at this point. Yeah, you'll get a slight higher advantage throughout the remainder of this stint, but it's not massive. It won't be worth it. It's worth it just to stay out for a couple laps longer, use the DRS, and try and minimise any sort of advantage they would gain. You would come out further back, but you would have so much fresher tyres and so much more fresher air, rather than being stuck at behind Alexei on 2 lap older tyres. Yes, you will get the use of the DRS, but then again, it's 2.2 second gap to his teammate. That's not going to be able to work. He won't be able to pick up the DRS, and he'll still get the dirty air off the car.
Yeah, he's going to get the dirty off the car. And I was actually to say Alexei was pulling away from Zach Miles there as well, but I think he just caught that second DRS zone, which they put into assist with racing. Daniel is now in the pits as well, so Daniel's going to lose a lot of time here. He's going to have fresh tyres. Schumi's going to go mediums as well. Surely can't be looking to go softs this early on. So 17.5 there for Yane. He has really put his foot down, and to be honest with you, Victor's got no response to it at the moment. No response at all. And I think NLR have not played a blind of a strategy here. I think they've really messed over their strategy. To be honest with you, Zach Miles stuck up behind Alexei, and Victor nowhere near the back of Yane. Yeah, he'll finish in second place probably, because Quinton is still yet to pit in this race. Do you reckon Quinton's going soft tyres now?
No.
Surely just going to wait as long as he can on the hards, maybe waiting for a little safety car that's not going to come?
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. I feel like it'd be better just to leave the car out there and trust in the driver's capability to be able to make it back through the pack on a lot fresher tyres. That's the sort of attitude I would want to see ABS take, because we saw Quinton throughout that first, and he was able to keep his nose clean, got through a couple cars here and there, avoided all the instances happening down on that first lap. So surely just keeping it out there for maybe 1 or 2 laps longer. But again, I'm completely ignored. For some reason, I'm not an engineer. I think I'm right, but clearly the engineers don't think I'm right.
Yeah, I thought you were right as well, but clearly not. Let's see what happens here. So Yarley going to take the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. Victor Wilder will take second place, and Alexi, Zach Miles, and Tom Roberts will follow through. Where is Quinton feeding out into here? So we're going to see Zach Miles going to make the move on Alexi with DRS wide open. Tom Roberts has got DRS as well. Are we going to see a lovely double slipstream here? Is Tom Roberts going to consider making the move on Zach Miles as well, or are we just going to see him tuck up behind the Sauber driver? He's just going to tuck up behind him. Interestingly enough here, Quinton only just coming out ahead of Jan, or is Jan going to make the move around the outside, and so is Guti, and Guti makes the move too, and he can't fight it, Quinton. He's lost out to Guti and Jan, who weren't really in his battle there, proving once again the undercut is super powerful, but he has the freshest tyres on the grid right now.
And you'd think by having those fresher tyres, he'll be able to make it all the way to the end of this race, similar to the rest of the drivers around him, but he'll be able to finish this second stint on such a more comfortable tyre to run on. You think the likes of Alexi currently sitting in P5, his tyres are already 4 laps old. They won't feel the best at the end of this stint. They might be sliding a little bit more. So it's down to Quinton to really try and break these medium tyres in a more efficient, more calm way compared to the drivers who had to hammer their outlaps from their pits in order to make the undercut work. Quinton has this beautiful luxury now where he can kind of sit back a little bit, make sure his tyres are prepped, and then slowly start pushing further and further, just trying to catch up to Guti. And you would expect within, 3 laps, he would be able to realistically try and make the move on that, and then I don't think Jan would put up too much of a fight to let him past. And then it'll be clean air for him to chase down the rest of this field, as we see Tom Roberts there making a move up into P3.
Even after Zach Miles set the fastest lap of the race, proving once again how powerful DRS is. Zach Miles may have been the quickest driver on track, but the quickest driver behind him, Tom Roberts, had the DRS, and he's actually kind of screwed over his teammate there. By Zach Miles going so quick, and Tom Roberts been able to get the launch off the final corner and DRS. He's pulled within 1.3 seconds of Victor Wilder, who, let's be honest, Josh, has not found any pace on these medium tyres whatsoever. 4.1 seconds down on the leader, and absolutely going nowhere right now.
No, certainly not. Tom Roberts is really pushing this poor little Mercedes, isn't he? Really trying to test the German reliability of that car, because all of a sudden, 1.1 seconds, it's not looking unlikely that he'll be able to catch a little whiff of a DRS heading down that start-finish straight, depending on how well he's able to handle this stadium section. He's going to need a good run out of here, and it doesn't look like he's got it there. So it'll just buy another lap there for Victor, but you're going to have to consider that 4-second gap. That's slowly growing with each lap which goes on. Tom Roberts, fastest lap of the race. Surely at this point, Victor just drops back just maybe a little bit now to try and offer Tom and his teammate the use of a DRS to try and work together to close up this gap to Yerne, because so far Yerne just seems to be in a league of his own.
Yeah, I think that's probably what the plan is. Obviously, Guti's just made a move there on P7, but Quinton also making a move on Jan. Again, Quinton probably expected that to happen, as we have a retirement, but that's in the pit lane. That's not going to cause a safety car here. So Yarne and WR will be thanking their stars that that's not happened yet. Daniel Chokscott out of nowhere making the move on Jan as well. He's getting involved in this fight too. He's got quite young tyres, but I imagine Quinton wants to try and make the move on Guti as soon as he can and try and close up the back of Aaron Ramiguez. But right now, this is the most interesting battle on track. We've got the NLR boys battling for third and second, and Tom Roberts just in behind. Alexi not too far away, about a second off of Tom Roberts in the background. But yeah, as you said, Yarne kind of checking out at the moment of this Grand Prix.
Absolutely, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. Burn a little bit of battery, build that gap, and now he's in a comfortable position where he can kind of nurture his tyres a little more, but he will have to keep in mind that there are drivers behind. There's such, with the likes of, Quinton, yes, it might seem very unfeasible in 11 laps time that Quinton's going to be able to charge up to the back of Yerne and put him under a bit of pressure. But all it takes is one slight error from the leader here, or maybe a half spin, maybe losing a rear going through the S's, picking up a penalty. You could be looking at a whole world of trouble as we see Quinton then make him a move on Guti, looking further forward, and Daniel also trying to follow him through there in this first complex of corners. But Guti there is absolutely not looking to let anything pass at all, but he gets pushed off the track there. Stewards might want to have a little look at that one, but Daniel currently finds himself up into P8, looking to follow Quinton through and try and catch back onto the rear of his pack with Aaron Ramiguez, Alexi, Tom Roberts, Victor Wilder, and Zach Miles, all of which kind of just following the pace of Zach Miles at this moment.
Yep, just basically matching Zach's pace, who is closing in on Yane as quicker than Victor Wilder did. Now, is that because of the 2-lap younger medium tyre? Is that because maybe Zach Miles has got a bit more pace than his teammate here? I wouldn't say he's exactly closing, to be honest with you. He's kind of matching the time. And through that stadium section, he's not getting anywhere near Yane. And is that because of the extra downforce that Ferrari might be running?
Potentially. It certainly could be a contributing factor as well. But you will have to consider maybe a couple of these drivers might have even underfueled their car, trying to get as much time as possible out of this slipstream, just making the cars a little bit lighter so they can get out the corners a little easier, just trying to set the car up for overtake. So they might even be looking to try and save a bit of fuel here as well, going through that stadium section, which could be a key factor. But when you're working with your teammate who's got a lap older tyres than you, last thing you would necessarily want is to let him get past heading into this second sector, right? He's going to hold you up a little bit. He's going to take different lines. It won't be great. Zach Miles certainly will be a little bit frustrated by this call, but end of the day, they do need to trade DRS with someone to try and catch back up to the rear of Yane.
But at this point, if you think you can't catch him, and I think by the looks of it, the NLL boys can't catch him, do you just solidify your second and third and work on defending from Tom Roberts? Because Roberts has got twice the amount of ERS that you both have, and clearly he's got the better pace at the moment.
It's the exact same situation they found themselves in during the first stint with Yane, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Leading a trio, the car which isn't a part of your stable, for a lack of a better term, is towards the back. He's recharged, he's got full battery, he's just waiting for that opportunity to deploy. You've got to make sure you're ready to defend.
Yep, and I don't think there's going to be any defence going on here from Victor Wilder, because he can't really do it. Tom Roberts goes onto the marbles, but it doesn't matter. He's into third place now, and the Shazoo driver into third ahead of Victor Wilder, who was on the younger set of tyres. Quinton now up into sixth as well, as he's ahead of Aaron Rodriguez. Oh, there's a bit of a wheel-to-wheel battle going on here between Daniel and Jan. Daniel really doing a bit of rubbies racing, maybe a bit too over the limit this afternoon, but that'll be down to the stewards to decide later on.
Absolutely. As mentioned, I'm absolutely here for it. We get that rubbing is racing. It's just part of the way Formula One is nowadays, isn't it? We're seeing it at younger levels in the karting scene. We're seeing it here at esports. We're seeing it almost everywhere. Drivers are more willing to go for aggressive moves and kind of expect other drivers to understand it's not a personal matter. They just really want that position. It's not on the driver. It's on the way sort of this society and this community sort of deems these overtakes now. Instead of being too bold, too aggressive, should get told off, should get a warning for it. They're just getting praise for being able to pull off these sends from about 50 yards back, slamming it on the brakes. It's one of those things. But you see Zach Miles there, giving a little wiggle down the straight, showing he's not willing to put up any defence there to Tom Roberts. He's more than willing to let Tom Roberts go past. Looking to try and work with Tom.
To try and catch up to Yane, who was on 10-lap-old mediums compared to 8-lap-old for Tom Roberts. But 4.5 seconds in... what is that?
8 laps?
7 laps? 8 laps? Don't think it's enough, Josh. I don't think it's enough.
It is a tall order.
It's a tall order. Obviously, you are very tall yourself.
I am, so I do know about tall orders.
Is it a Josh tall order?
I think it might even be a Denny Berejne tall order.
Oof.
Slightly taller than a Josh order. That's the level we might be looking at here. But Tom Roberts is certainly looking to get his hammer down, looking to try and carry a little bit more pace through this S section. You can already see that from Zach Miles and Victor slowly starting to drop off. But again, the DRS has just got to reel him back in. Now, the thing I'm going to be trying to keep an eye out here for is whether Tom Roberts is going to do that little wiggle back down the straight, and whether they're going to look to try and trade positions every single lap heading down the straight, or whether it might just be that one time and Zach Miles is willing to just kind of hold back for the time being and let Tom Roberts take the lead, burn a little bit of ERS until he realises it's not feasible to catch up to Yane. Let's keep an eye out for it.
Let's find out how we go.
No wiggles at all. Wow.
Well, easily passed back. So Miles, I think he realises Miles, on that occasion, they're not going to catch him.
Yeah.
In that one last stadium section, Yane pulled about 0.5 of a second
So
on Tom Roberts. So I think they're going to now battle it out for fourth, third, and second. As Quinton is closing up to the back of Alexi. I think Quinton's best position here could be fifth, and I think that would be a good recovery after the later undercut.
yes, absolutely. You're probably looking at fifth. I would say these guys are a little bit too far ahead at this moment in time, but certainly if he was able to come home and bring home a P5 for ABS, that'll be nothing to get too upset about. It's a good result once again. Just carrying momentum forward. Looking forward to next week. Just keeping it constantly moving forward. And that's what a lot of these teams need to kind of work towards, strive towards, and just following themselves through after a positive result.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to be one of those things where we just started lap 30 now. We've got 6 laps to go, including the lap we're on. And right now we're just watching some smaller battles going on. Of course, we're going to see a lot of slipstream overtakes as we see Tom Roberts once again get past Zach Kamard. Keep an eye on Quinton though, as he's going to run down the main straight. He's going to close in. He's closing. Will he close in fast enough before the braking zone, or is he going to wait? No, he's not going to send it down the inside there. No need to, is there, Josh? Because he knows he's got him.
Absolutely not, as we see Jan there going for a very late move on Aaron Ramiguez. That gives Daniel the opportunity to send it round the outside at turn 2, turns to the inside of turn 3. Beautiful opportunistic move from a TF10 driver, managing to grab a position and also keep the DRS there as Quintamer does make a move heading into turn 4. Brilliant stuff there from the ABS driver, very opportunistic. Use that little extra DRS straight to try and pull himself alongside. He was able to pull himself alongside and he's signed, sealed and delivered that move on Alexi. With 3 lap fresher tyres, 6 seconds up the road, it's not going to be possible. Quinton now just needs to work on breaking that DRS to Alexi to make sure Alexi doesn't really have too much of a say going down that back straight once again and holding him up just enough for maybe the likes of Jan or Daniel to try and get themselves involved as well.
Yep, it'll be very interesting to see if that does happen. Alexi has lost a lot of time. 12-lap-old medium tyres compared to 10-lap-old, 8-lap-old. It's a lot of time lost. And out of the corners, I'm surprised that Quinton didn't pull as much in that stadium section. I thought he might have pulled a bit further out, as it looks like Quinton and Alexi are we're gonna see a stopper position here. Is Alexi just waiting the inevitable? But I think he's gonna have a chance here into turn 1. Or is he gonna wait? No, he's not gonna go for the move. Not gonna go for the move. No need to, is there, Josh? Because I think Alexi knows, to be honest with you, that they do not have the pace in the middle sector to try and hold back Quinton. But it's definitely not over. They can still battle this position out because they've clearly got a lot of straight line speed in that Aston Martin. And PR will want them to fight until the end of the race. But we've got another 5 laps to go here, Josh. As it looks like Yane is going to walk away comfortably with this Grand Prix win.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last week. Tony O'Shea putting on a dominance. It's, unprecedented level of dominance by securing a back-to-back win for himself and, of course, for TF10. But WOR showing up this week, showing they're not out of the picture entirely. They're more than willing to go with a very bold call to get their leading driver onto an undercut from the lead of a race. And it's worked out, and it's been an absolute blinder for them, hasn't it? Giving themselves a brilliant breathing opportunity of 3 seconds, and then Yane's just been able to carry that 3 seconds all the way up to 4.5 seconds during this stint, putting in a phenomenal drive, keeping himself calm, collected. All he's got to do is keep it within track limits, realistically, at this point, and I feel like we could wave a checkered flag maybe 1 or 2 laps early, but of course we still have some racing left to do. Tom Roberts in P2, potentially vulnerable to a double overtake by both the NLR drivers depending on how much battery he has left in store. Having a quick look there, 65%. That's enough to dump if he really needs to try and defend a position. But of course, expect that to happen towards lap 35, lap 36 for that opportunity to come into fruition for the NLR team. They've got a little bit more time to try and recharge the battery. But of course, the longer they have to recharge the battery, the longer Tom has to recharge the battery too.
Yeah, for sure. He's got to recharge the battery a bit now, but the other 2 guys behind, Victor Wilder and Zach Miles, both have about the same amount of battery as he does. Just want to point out that Yane has about 80% battery up front. He's not used any at all, really. So maybe just the tad out of the corners, which is probably why he's gaining so much in the stadium section. But we've got 3 laps to go when Yane crosses the line. And the only battles we've still got on track, obviously the battles for 3rd, 4th, and 2nd. And we got the battle for 8th and 7th going on, and the battle for 6th and 5th going on.
Absolutely. Seeing a lot of these drivers here sort of taking it a little easier, but a driver who's not been afraid to make moves during this second stint of the race is Daniel Gottschalk, looking to try and make moves here, there, everywhere, heading down this main straight, and I feel like we could be into C1 here once again. On Yanni, pulls over to the inside, gets alongside with the DRS wide open, comes back across the racing line, easy as you like, late on the brakes there as well. Brilliant stuff from Daniel. Now, 1.9 seconds up the road is Alexei on slightly older tyres. 3 laps to go. I reckon Daniel could do it.
I think he's got a chance. Alexei's really dropped off in pace, but the good thing is with Alexei is still running with DRS of the car in front. So that's pulling them along, which is helping out Alexei's pace. Quinton knows they can't really catch the NLR drivers in front, so they're just kind of sitting with 5th place. Right now, I don't think we're going to get into puncture territory for any of these cars. I reckon their tyres are just going to be okay for the end of the race. Obviously, the guys that are on the oldest set of tyres here, Jane and Alexei, both on 15-lap old medium tyres, as we got 2 laps to go.
There you go. I read chat. I'll show you the ERS levels for them as well. If I show Tom's, it's only fair. So, see what you got to play with. 50, 70, and 70. Could certainly be interesting to make this final, but again, there's so much opportunity for these drivers to just recharge the batteries. Thinking all the way down here into turn 1, it's a long braking zone. You can recharge there. Think about sector 2. There's a couple opportunities there where you can brake drag just a little bit, trying to recharge as much battery as possible. But one thing that Tom has to keep in mind here if he wants to try and hold on to this P2 is to make sure he doesn't get any more warnings for track limits. That is going to be imperative, because if he ends up picking up a penalty, he's paying the ultimate price here.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to end your race with a time penalty. That is the worst thing to do, especially after you've done, what, 35 laps coming up to now, without picking up one, and you get one right at the end of the Grand Prix. It's the worst feeling in the world. Especially after you've kept it so clean. Especially if he's been running on maybe two warnings. A lot of these guys do run 2 warnings because they know that they can push the track a little bit more than others. But yeah, it's one of those worst feelings that you don't want to pick up. But we're going on to the penultimate lap here, Josh. Shizu leading in 2nd place with Zach Miles and Victor Wilder, but the WR driver of Yana, he's not been untouched. Since that strategy kill from WR, it has been world class, and NLR just didn't have an answer for it today.
Absolutely, Yane's just showed us, a performance similar to what Tony Roche has in the last 2 races, just showing he's in a league of his own. He can get caught up in that first stint, trapped behind the NLR cars, but again, just finding that opportunity to really be able to crank out a little bit of pace as soon as we're in a bit of free air, and that's exactly what Yone's done, and you cannot fault him one bit. As soon as he's found that free air, he's been in a league of his own.
Yeah, for sure he has been, and I think he's going to be easily defending this this last lap. But we've got still a lot of battles going on this last lap of the race. Are we going to see the 2 NLR drivers blast past Tom Roberts on this final lap? Are we going to see a little bit of DRS gamesmanship being played here, Josh? It seems a bit of a last lap thing for it to happen, but we've also got a huge battle going on between 5th, 6th, 7th as Daniel makes a move there on Jan. Interesting that Daniel's gone for that, considering he's not going to have DRS.
Absolutely, he must have trust that he's got enough in the battery department and he's got low enough wings to defend it off, but I don't feel like it'll be too feasible for a little bit of DRS chicken, as much as it would bring a little bit more excitement into this final lap. Tom Roberts knows he's in a 2v1 here. He knows he's just got to focus on getting a good exit, but he did have a little squirrely moment coming through that final corner, and that's going to give Zach Miles the exact opportunity he needs. You can see deploying the battery, dumping it as much as possible. DRS wide open. He's going to be able to get the overspeed here. Will he be able to get the move done even before the braking zone? Yes, he will. So Tom Roberts has now put himself into an awkward position. Does he go for a move at turn 4, or does he send it in the stadium section if he wants to try and get back that P2? He's going to make sure he gets a clean exit here. You can see him dumping the battery here once again, but of course Zach Miles will still get the help in a DRS, as there's no detection point after turn 1. So Tom's just had to settle back down, just have to find this rhythm to kind of dial it in once again to try and make that move slightly further ahead. But again, it'll be a very bold move to try and make it in the stadium.
Stadium is the only place he's really going to be able to make it now, as we go through the middle sector, riding on board with Tom Roberts. You got to make it really nice and clean, but Zach knows exactly what he must do. Oh, he's gone a bit wide there, Tom Roberts. I think he's going to cost himself a bit of time, and that is really cost him. You can see his light is flashing on the back of the car, but Tom Roberts will not be able to get him. But for the winner of this Mexican Grand Prix, coming through the stadium section now, the fireworks have already started for the man from WRI crossing the line to win the Mexican Grand Prix. And behind him, Zach Miles will come home in second place for Sauber and for NLR, and Tom Roberts will finish in third for Suzu, and then Victor Wilder. And then the other cars, as we watch Alexi come home in fifth, Quinton in sixth, Daniel in seventh, Jan in eighth, Guti in ninth, and Aaron Ramiguez rounds out your top 10. Josh, what a race here in our Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's not quite often we get to see Mexico being used on the calendar, but I'm very much glad we got to see that one. It was a very strategical race, certainly more of a chess match than a boxing match. They weren't all out brawling for the entire time. They were more than happy to kind of run around race and find out how it works. And ultimately, the driver who was able to run the freest race of them all was Yerde, and he's ended up reaping the rewards of it massively, having that bit of clean air to push through Sector 2, find himself winning this race. Brilliant performance from him. And he's got to be my driver of the day. As soon as he was free, he was able to work his magic.
Yeah, going to give driver of the day to Jan as well, but give driver of the day also to the WR strategy team, because they pulled off a masterful, very aggressive undercut, and it worked off in the end.
Absolutely brilliant stuff from them. Yeah, ART as well. Special mention. Jumping into a hot seat here. Trial by fire to come and compete here in EML. But they've not retired, and they've finished the race, which is realistically one of the best scenarios they could have looked to do. Now I'll be trying to work further forward from there, but you can't fault them one bit, can you? Last minute call up to replace a team, done a brilliant job getting both cars across the line, but it wasn't quite. It wasn't quite Shizu's day, was it? Again,
no, just not
P3
with it again.
Could have been the P2
podium.
It's unfortunate, but you gotta have to take a podium when it comes awry, and it certainly did. Tom might feel a little disheartened, feel like he might have earned a little bit more, but when it's 2v1, it can be very, very tough to battle, and NLR certainly used their numbers to their advantage throughout the entire first stint, caused the WR driver a fair few problems, and then that second stint caused the Shizu driver a fair bit of problem as well, showing teamwork always makes the dream work. But to run you through the final order here, we have Yerne P1, Zach Miles P2, Tom Roberts P3, Victor P4, Alexi P5, Quinton P6, Gottschalk P7, Jan P8, Guti P9, Aaron Ramiguez P10, Otso P11, Yol P12, Gabriel P13, Defi P14, Snowken P15, Renz P16, and Vuk Garcia there, P17, with the retirement from the session. Well, I wonder how that's going to change the championship standings. It wasn't the best result possible for TF10, was it? So
no, certainly not.
Potential for a couple of teams to catch up? I certainly think so. I don't reckon there's going to be too much jumping between the different positions, but certainly something we will have to look forward to for next week as well, because it's looking good.
It is. It certainly is looking very close and interesting. I'm looking forward to the next round, of course. We'll be back.
Austin, Texas.
Yeah, not far away from. We just move across countries, literally, just very next to each other. So
yeah, we literally just have to catch a flight and job done.
Yeah,
brilliant stuff. But that'll round us out here today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for the chat as well, for giving us a bit of content, especially during the downtime. When we was waiting for the lobby to get reset up. But again, it's been absolutely lovely having all of you here. Thank you, every single one of you, for coming along, joining and taking part. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you for 7 p.m. next Sunday for some brilliant racing around COTA, the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. We will catch you then. Goodbye.